Azalea City Church of Christ. Y'all heard I was teaching class tonight doing the invitation and announcements and nobody showed up. It's all right. We're here. Got a few prayer requests, a couple of announcements maybe to get to you before we begin tonight. Certainly, thank you guys for braving the weather. I mean, even the last, 3 or 4 days here, it's been flooding. So, y'all certainly want to keep everyone in our prayers as we travel home tonight. Sister Margaret Eichner has a knee replacement scheduled for tomorrow. That's going to be at the surgery center. She said she's starting that procedure at 6:30 in the morning. So I imagine Sister Margaret has to be there probably around 5 o'clock or maybe even a little earlier to get prepared for that. The elders just had a conversation with her and a prayer with her. So y'all please keep Sister Margaret in your prayers. I know she was going to let Terry know, Mike know, her daughter was going to let them know kind of how everything was progressing. So y'all keep Sister Margaret in your prayers as she endures that tomorrow. Also, Sister Belinda Russo, she started her chemo. Nicole was just telling me that she woke up with fever today. She did go to the oncologist and received some antibiotics through an IV today. She's supposed to do that tomorrow and again on Friday. So y'all just pray, continue to pray for Sister Belinda, her entire family, but just pray that just with this fever today, there's no real side effects from chemo, but maybe that's just hopefully just kind of a one-off, if that makes sense. And is BJ here tonight? BJ Dixon? Ken Murphy told us the other day on Monday. Ken, correct me if I say anything wrong here, but BJ is leaving on Friday to head to Florida. Is that correct? Yeah. To live, I guess, move with his aunt? Sister? Okay. I hate he's not here tonight because I certainly would have loved for us to have a prayer with him or something. BJ's been awesome. The last, 5 or 6 years, BJ's been worshiping with us here. So y'all keep BJ Dixon in your prayers as certainly they travel, but then as he's going to be away from us for as long as we may know. Certainly hate he's not here. I don't think he was able to be here Sunday either. But y'all keep BJ in your prayers. Really, the only announcements I have is, I guess, more of a prayer request, but y'all continue to remember the teenagers and Taylor out at Gulf Coast Bible Camp. Again, unfortunately, the rain we've experienced here in Sims and Mobile, they have gotten also in Lucedale. So I'm in the text group, and I see a lot of cabins are missing out on swim time, and that just doesn't fly well with teenagers. You miss out on your swim time. So y'all keep them in your prayers out there. And also Junior Week for us is coming up in 2 weeks. So there'll be a lot of folks from Azalea City that's out there, a lot of kids, of course, and certainly ask or covet your prayers for a successful week. Yes, George? Yes, I haven't, but I can. I will. Bo experienced knee injury the other day at practice. I think it was Monday morning, so it was really right when they begun. And I believe through the doctors there, Faulkner's football doctors, that he has a grade 2 MCL strain, but they are coming home Sunday night to go have an MRI Monday. So y'all keep Bo in your prayers. Hopefully it's nothing torn. They fear there may be a torn meniscus, but is battling a knee injury, which he was able to practice for a little bit on Monday, and then I think he's been sidelined the rest of the time. He's still there with the team and everything, but certainly keep them in your prayers. And then while Terry and Bo are out of town and traveling back this weekend. I believe that is all the announcements that I have. Joseph is going to lead us in singing. Brother Bill is going to close us in prayer, and I'll extend the invitation here in a few minutes.
As the deer pants for the water, so my soul longs after you. You alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship you. worship you. I want you more than gold or silver, only you can satisfy. You alone are the real joy giver and the apple of my eye. You alone are my strength, my shield. To you alone may my spirit yield. You alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship you.
An article I read some time ago about the YMCA and the first YMCA, and then maybe a church needing to use the YMCA. It goes a little bit like this. It says, first YMCA was started in London in 1844 in response to the working and living conditions in London at that time. It was a rough place to live, and many of the young men who came there for work were living in awful conditions. A farmer turned shopkeeper named George Williams saw the need, and he, along with 11 friends, founded the YMCA. The acronym stands for Young Men's Christian Association. The YMCA was to be a place for spiritual refuge, Bible studies, and prayer times to help the young men who had moved to London for work. In this article, it says, I read a story a few weeks ago where a preacher and a group of people were in the early stages of planting a church. As they were searching for a building to meet for services, one of the places we looked into was a new YMCA. They walked in to talk with the person in charge about the possibility of renting the YMCA out on Sunday mornings for a Bible class and worship service. They were told, I don't think we're able to do anything with churches or religious organizations. Here's how the writer of the article wanted to respond. So you're telling me the Young Men's Christian Association can't be associated with Christians. This organization, founded to minister to young men in the name of Christ, had forgotten why it was started. It had drifted from its purpose. This happens possibly a lot, and it certainly can happen to us. It can happen, but it can't happen. You understand what I'm saying? It can happen to us, but it can't happen to us. The church is not an inward or a closed community. Paul says in 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verses 1 and 2, and then 5 through 11, therefore, having this ministry by the mercy of God, we do not lose heart, but we have renounced disgraceful, underhanded ways. We refuse to practice cunning or to tamper with God's word. But by the open statement of the truth, we would commend ourselves to everyone's conscience in the sight of God. For what we proclaim is not of ourselves, but Jesus Christ is Lord, with ourselves as your servants for Jesus' sake. For God, who said, let light shine out of the darkness, has shone in our hearts to give us the light of the knowledge of the glory of God, and the power belongs to God and not to us. We are afflicted in every way, but not crushed, perplexed, but not driven to despair, persecuted, but not forsaken, struck down, but not destroyed, always carrying in the body the death of Jesus, so that the life of Jesus may also be manifested in our bodies. For we who live are always being given over to death for Jesus' sake, so that the life of Jesus may also be manifested in our mortal flesh. He goes on in the next chapter, chapter 5, in verses 14 and 15 to say, for the love of Christ controls us, because we have concluded this, that one has died for all, therefore all have died, and he died for all, that those who might live no longer live for themselves, but for him who for their sake died and was raised. Paul, in talking and writing to the church of Galatia, says in chapter 5 and verse 1, "For freedom Christ has set us free. Stand firm, therefore, and do not submit again to a yoke of slavery." The YMCA, which was founded to provide a safe place for people who were working in awful conditions in London to come and to have refuge, had seemingly lost their foundation, had forgotten their foundation. The church, we should never forget our foundation. Our foundation is Jesus Christ. It's not you and it's not me. Now, we're a part of the body. But it's not about us, and it's not about us getting glory, and it's not about our talents, it's not about our abilities, it's not about our feelings. It's about Jesus Christ and Him crucified. It's about Him, the one who was willing, but also the one who was able to die for you and me. That is our foundation. I just hope, I know we're not, but I just hope the church never loses its way, never forgets the foundation, right? We sing the song at VBS, "The wise man built his house on the..." Thank you, Brandy sang it at VBS. "And the foolish man built his house on the sand." The wise man built his house on Jesus Christ, and the foolish man built his house on himself. The wise man's house stood firm, and the foolish man, kids, house went flat. Thank you, George. You may need to come up here and lead it one more time. The YMCA had forgotten why it was founded. The Church of Jesus Christ, we should never forget why we were founded. It's for Jesus Christ. It's for God. It's for His glory. It's for expanding His borders. We are to use our talents and our abilities to do nothing but that, right? To understand the need that I and you have for Christ and to go share that message with the entire world. Tonight, if you have any need, if you're struggling with that, if you're not a part of God's kingdom but would like to be a part of God's kingdom, there's no greater time than the present. Certainly ask and plead with you to come forward if you have any need tonight as we stand and sing together.
Have you been to Jesus for the cleansing power? Are you washed in the blood of the Lamb? Are you fully trusting in His grace this hour? Are you washed in the blood of the Lamb? Are you washed in the blood, in the soul-cleansing blood of the Lamb? Are your garments spotless? Are they white as snow? Are you washed in the blood of the Lamb?
Appreciate you, Joseph. Thank you again, all that were able to come out through the weather tonight. Certainly be safe as you travel home. We're about to go out to some great classes. Look forward to that. Thank you to all the teachers that have prepared. Before Bill comes and leads us in a prayer, just remember that Sunday is coming. Look forward to seeing everybody. Terry's going to be out of town this week. I'm going to be out of town. Taylor's going to be preaching. So, guys, don't go away. Taylor's going to have some great stuff to say. I know it's going to be Father's Day. Listen, moms and wives, we're not as good as you. We understand. But give us a couple hours on that day. Pat us on the back. Tell us we're doing a good job, even though we're not. Okay? Make us feel better about it. All right? Love you guys. Thank you so much. Looking forward to some great classes tonight. Brother Bill.
Let's pray. Father, we do thank you so much for this opportunity, God, to come together tonight, open up your word and fellowship. Father, to pray to you. Help us to always stand on the foundation of your Son, Jesus Christ, and Him crucified, Father. You know every name on our list and on our hearts and minds, but especially the names we'll mention tonight, Father. We ask your healing and blessing
Well, it's me again. I don't feel like I'm supposed to stand up here and say good evening again. Nope. When Robert's ready, we'll get started. I'm just kidding. So, 2 weeks ago now, last week was VBS. 2 weeks ago, Terry continuing the study through the series Made Free, talked about the Sabbath and keeping the Sabbath and honoring the Sabbath. So there is a part 2 to that, and I just wanted to help conclude this portion of it tonight. And Terry, again, is actually speaking at Robertsdale tonight, but traveling to Montgomery, so certainly want to keep him in our prayers as he's traveling. But would somebody turn to Exodus chapter 20? And I think it's fitting for us to read through the Ten Commandments. So it's 21 verses. We can split it up. Or somebody can just be bold. It's okay. No, you can stop. We're good. We don't need the... In there, verse 8, what Jason just read to us, remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is a Sabbath day, or Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work, you or your son or your daughter or your male servant or your female servant or your livestock or the sojourner who is within your gates. For 6 days the Lord made the heaven and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them, and he rested on the seventh. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. I find it interesting, and I think Terry's done a great job through this. And in talking with him just a little while ago while he was traveling and I was on my way here, it's interesting because I believe this study is hopefully and will continue to kind of rejuvenate the Ten Commandments. Maybe help us to rethink the Ten Commandments and not something that's just old and outdated but still beneficial to us in the church today. So of the Ten Commandments, you shall have no other gods before me. Still something that we follow today and honor today? Yeah, like that's still big time legit, right? You shall not make for yourself the carved image. Are we still not supposed to worship idols?
Tell me this. Let me just stop you right there. What's the difference between an idol and a god?
I mean, here he says carved image, but I don't know that. I mean, maybe splitting hairs. You know? Do you have an answer?
Well, I'm asking you.
That's not my topic. My topic's the Sabbath day. You should have. Hey, the good news is Terry's coming back. Yes, sir, Mr. Mike.
That's a good question, I guess, addressing issues, because so many people
Sure.
look at that different ways. There's a group of Mennonite people that live up close to where we hunt, up in the mid part of the state, you know, one of them's dad killed a really nice buck, and he got it mounted, a Mennonite mount, which is a pretty rough looking deal. And, one of the men from the church come over there and was shocked that he would mount a deer, hang it on his wall, and accused him of this very thing. And he threw that thing in his garage, and it just got destroyed. But when he looked at it as that, he said, I can't believe I've done that, you know. I mean, some people take it literally in a lot of directions.
Yep.
I don't know.
I honestly don't. I mean, Danny, it's a valid question, I think. Sure. Third commandment is you shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain. Still something we practice and strive not to take God's name in vain, correct? The fifth commandment, honor your father and mother. Still something that we teach our children to do and strive to do as adults, is to honor our parents, correct? Okay.
Honor marriage anymore.
But we teach our children that within the church. Right, correct.
The world doesn't.
Well, the world doesn't serve God only either, to their credit, right? Like the world does not, the world makes carved images. The world has other gods before big God, right? Big G God, correct? So we're talking here, Christians, us. Murder, still something we try to not do, correct? Within the church. Commit adultery, something we strive not to do, actually teaches really bad, correct? Not stealing and not coveting, something, not bearing false witness, still things we practice. Here's where I'm getting, is we go back to the fourth commandment there, and it's keep the Sabbath day, or honor the Sabbath day and keep it holy. Who does that? Why don't we honor the Sabbath day and keep it holy? Seventh-day Adventists do. But what was the reason for the Sabbath day in the Old Testament? It was the day God rested. It wasn't necessarily a day of worship. Seventh-day Adventists have taken it to say, hey, this is our worship on Saturday.
When Christ came, wasn't his purpose to put an end to the law?
Correct. Yes. Christ came and put an end to the law. Christ's death on the cross ultimately is his resurrection from the grave, defeating death, kind of abolished the old law. It just is interesting to me that we still hone in on the other 9 commandments of things we do not do. Christ didn't come to abolish, like now you can murder. Now he actually took it a step further. You should not hate your brother, right? Because that's like murder. Or you should not lust after someone else, because that's like committing adultery. I just find it interesting, and I think we're going to have hopefully maybe a repositioning of our thought of the Sabbath day at the end of this. And maybe you already have from last class with Terry, but Christ came and abolished the Sabbath, so it's not something that we keep and honor, but why don't we? Say again? We do. How?
So, the most in Sabbath probably was for fellowship with God.
Correct.
And we do have that Sabbath for Jesus Christ. It's rest for our soul.
Sure. Okay, I agree with you, but I'm going to argue with you or contend that Saturday, are we agreeing that Saturday would have been the Sabbath day? If we say in Sunday's the first day of the week, and who rests on Saturdays? I'm pointing the finger at, Terry says you don't preach sermons that you don't need to hear? You want me to tell you about what I did today? You probably don't care, but I'm going to tell you why I'm the worst one to be, or maybe I'm the one that needs to be speaking on this. Is wake up, take the dogs to the groomer, go to football practice, go play basketball after, go get the dogs from the groomer, take them home, go get my hair cut, then go back home, take a shower, finally, bless the barber, I stunk, but that's fine. Go back home, then go get Riley from Mobile Christian, where Ashley was having cheer practice, and take her to go watch her play tennis in a tennis match today, and then come here for the elders meeting, and here we are. Like, that is just like this, and unfortunately, that's not just one day every month or so. That seems to be the life that I have chosen to live, is just from one thing to the next all the time. And I don't want pats on the back, and I don't want you to say, well, man, great job. I actually want you to tell me to chill out a little bit. The design of the Sabbath day was for people to rest and to chill and to use that time to focus on their relationship with God and to reflect on what God had done for them. But yet, sometimes I feel when we have a break in our schedule, the world tells us we need to fill that with something, or we're being lazy. Am I wrong and off base? If you give me a head nod like this, and I'm going to keep going in my notes. All right. Rest is not laziness. Thought I'd get an amen on that one, but it's okay. Rest is not laziness. Amen. Thank you. I think a lot of us feel that when we are resting and when we take a Saturday off or a Sunday afternoon off, that we kind of feel guilty because we're being unproductive. Am I wrong? Do you feel that way? Or are you better than me? The world has taught us that if I don't pack my schedule from daylight to dark, then I'm just a lazy soul. I'm unproductive.
Wait till you retire. It's the hardest thing ever to do is break doing something all the time.
Sure.
You would work every day.
Sure.
You work around the house.
Correct.
You do all your chores. You do what you're supposed to do. You finally retire. You don't have to go to work no more. It's the hardest thing in the world. Breaking the habit of going to work.
Is retirement a great thing?
It is once you finally break the habit.
Should we break the habit before retirement?
You should.
I mean, I hear what you're saying. I
Mhm.
totally get what you're saying. But I mean, like, I'm just thinking too about you having, give me a Saturday, I can think of stuff to do, but the stuff that I do on Saturday it helps me to, well, 2-day weekend is not a lot of time. If you got a job, it
Mhm.
just goes like that.
Mhm.
But on a Saturday, instead of getting up and everybody rushes out two different directions, you get to have breakfast with your
Mhm.
breakfast, have breakfast with your family, maybe watch
Yep.
a little TV. And even if you're doing yard work or washing the car or
Sure.
going up to the hunt camp
Yep.
or something like that, it's doing stuff. But for me, it's, man, your brain can kind of
Mhm.
relax. You can rest.
Mhm.
You can kind of reset.
I 100% agree with you. And I guess I'm not arguing that doing stuff is wrong, right? And resting, it means just laying on the couch motionless. 100% agree with you. Why have we quit? Why have we quit resting? How many hours are we supposed to sleep a night? Studies show what? 8. Who gets 8? I mean, you can raise your hand. You're not on live stream. 3. Good job. All ladies. Lazy. No, just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm sorry. That was me. So wrong. But why have we quit resting? And I agree with Jason. My dad, I've heard others say, like, you get on the tractor, it's not work, it's tractor therapy, or maybe sometimes you have the right mindset going to play a round of golf. It's really can be therapeutic unless you're trying to be good at it, and then it's the worst hobby you could pick up. or if I'm going fishing, or if I'm, sometimes I think we like stillness. I love to deer hunt. Somebody read Psalm 46, verse 10 for us, please. Psalm 46, verse 10.
Be still and know that I am God. I will be honored by every nation. I will be honored throughout the world.
Be still and know that I am God. Sometimes, I mean, like even driving around, there are opportunities where I can be still and try to really focus on the presence of God. There are times, certainly, maybe outdoor work, having breakfast with your family. There are times where you can and I can be still. But what is God saying? He's not just saying be still and be mindless. Be still and what? Know that I am God. Somebody read Matthew 11, verse 28 through 30, please. You guys not closed with this, but kind of came to started the conclusion of last time class with this verse. Jesus says,
Come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy, my burden is light.
all right, so commentary that I read, was reading some on the Sabbath, said this. Bottom line is this. The observance of the Sabbath is not a requirement of Christianity. Keeping the Sabbath, along with all other sacrificial laws, are not necessary for those who live under the new covenant. We don't keep the Sabbath for the same reason that we don't sacrifice lambs for the remission of our sins. We enter God's rest when we put our faith in the person and work of Christ. We enter God's rest when we put our faith in the person of Christ and the work of Christ. The entire law of Moses, which includes the Ten Commandments, is obsolete because Jesus Christ fulfills the law of Moses. Jesus institutes the new covenant. Jesus' death on the cross is fully sufficient for our salvation and our sanctification. Really focusing on, we don't keep the Sabbath for the same reason we don't sacrifice lambs. However, we enter God's rest, and there are opportunities for us, and it doesn't just have to be on a Saturday, but it can be every day, where we put our faith in the person and the work of Jesus Christ. So I think keeping a part of the Sabbath for us means that we find periods of resting. We find periods of, actually, let's just do this. I'm going to skip ahead, but I think we need to. Go to Genesis chapter 1. I found this fascinating. Now, the material that I know Jason Smith had shared it with Terry, and Terry had shared it with me for preparation of this class. The young man who's speaking said this, and I found it fascinating because I don't think I've ever really thought about creation like this before. Genesis chapter 1. It's going to be a few verses. Will somebody start reading in verse 24? Through the end, 7, 8 verses. Thank you.
And God said, let the earth bring forth living creatures according to their kinds, livestock and creeping things and beasts of the earth according to their kinds. And it was so. And God made the beasts of the earth according to their kinds, and the livestock according to their kinds, and everything that creeps on the ground according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over the livestock,
So that was the sixth day of creation. Thank you, Jason. On the first 5 days, at the end of the day, God said it was good. But on the sixth day, he said it was why? 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 Okay, I agree with that. I think it was completion. Like he looks at it and he's like, all right, this is very good. I'd like to think he looks at mankind, who is created in his image, unlike anything else in creation. And I think he looks at us and says, that is very good. In chapter 2, it says, thus it begins, thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the seventh day, God finished his work that he had done, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work that he had done. So God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on it God rested from all his work that he had done in creation. What day was man created? Sixth day. What was the first thing that man, I don't think was commanded to do, but what was the first task for man? What was the first task? Like, what was the very next day? What was the first day in the life of mankind was to do what? The first day. Rest. Day 6, they were created. Day 7, they rested. What do you think that rest provided mankind? I mean, they were just born. They were just created. I don't know that they were exhausted from all their labor, but what did that rest create in mankind? Get to know God. Get to know the creation. So I think rest breeds reflection. Okay? I think when you and I, who feels better after 8, 9 hours of sleep versus getting 3 hours of sleep? Is that everybody? So what's this saying? Oh my goodness, I feel like a new man, new person. After you get a good night's rest, you feel rejuvenated. You feel relaxed. You feel better. Okay? Coming back to that in a second. I found it very fascinating. It's not my fault, but I found it very fascinating that the first act of man, the first maybe, let's say, full day of mankind was resting. And it wasn't resting because Adam and Eve needed rest. I argue it was resting because they were doing exactly what God was doing, was reflecting on what he had done the previous 6 days. Be still and know that I am God. I think it allowed Adam and Eve to look back at everything that God had done for them. Right? Because ultimately, go back to verse 29 of chapter 1. And God said, behold, I have given you every plant yielding seed that is on the face of all the earth, and every tree with seed in its fruit. You shall have them for food, and every beast of the earth, and every bird of the heavens, and to everything that creeps on the earth, everything that has the breath of life. I have given every green plant for food, and it was so. God said, I've done all this for you. And I think he took the time, after he said it was very good, to rest and observe all that he had done. But he also, the first act of mankind, I'm going to argue, is that they were able to rest and reflect on all that God had done for them. And so that, even though we don't keep the Sabbath and not do any work on Saturday and all these things, we have to find time in our lives to rest, because that rest allows us to hopefully reflect on all that God has done for us. We too quickly forget, kind of like that YMCA, too quickly forget our foundation. We too quickly forget that God has allowed us to have the things that we have, to enjoy doing the things that we have in our lives. And so that's why I told you kind of like what my day was like, all-consuming day. It's like, how many times did I pause throughout the day as I'm rushing from one event to the next and pause and thank God for all that he's given me. Thank God that I have a truck that I can move around. Thank God that I'm fortunate enough to be able to coach young people. Thank God that I have children that I'm able to take to events. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense to us? That that I think a lot of times we get, and I've said this a lot, and this was not originated with me, but busy is the new lazy. It's not, I mean, just because all of us are busy doesn't mean we're lazy people, but sometimes it can cause us to be lazy Christians or lazy spiritually. And all those times where I'm rushing from one event to the next, how many people did I call from this church and check on them? Don't guess that, because you go over 0, you're wrong. So that's a poor reflection on me in a way that I used my day. Today could have been my Sabbath day. With all the stuff that was going on, it still could have been an opportunity for me to pause and to reflect on all that God has done in my life. So no, we don't have a Sabbath day that we honor and keep holy. But you better have a Sabbath day where you pause and rest and maybe not necessarily do anything. But while you're doing whatever you're doing, use that as an opportunity to be reminded of the goodness of God. The Sabbath day or periods of rest do 3 things. Number 1, helps us to love more. Matthew chapter 22, verse 37 through 40. Would somebody read that, please? Matthew chapter 22, verses 37 through 40.
Jesus replied, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and the prophets hang on these 2 commandments."
First commandment, the greatest commandment, is to do what? It's very simply stated, to love God. To love God with everything. Second commandment is to do what? Love people, right? To love your neighbor. This, again, it's overused, I'm sorry. But I'm not very smart, and I don't have a lot in my hip pocket. But this whole cartoon of Linus and Lucy's Peanuts cartoon, where Linus and Lucy are together, and Lucy's jump roping, and Lucy is going away from Linus, and she says, "You a doctor? Ha! That's a big laugh." And then they're face to face, and Lucy says, "You know, you could never be a doctor. You know why?" And Linus doesn't even, it's like, never mind, I can't say that. Lucy does not allow Linus to get a word in, edgewise, right? She goes back off jump roping and says, "Because you don't love mankind, that's why." And Linus says, I do love mankind. It's the people I cannot stand." And I use this a lot because I really feel like that sometimes as Christians, this is our mindset, is that we absolutely love mankind. We want the best for mankind. We spend a lot of money for mankind. All of our missions and benevolence projects around here is for the greater good of our community and world. Walk for water, different things like we absolutely love mankind. But then when it boils down to the individual people, sometimes people are the ones that are hard to love. Does that make sense? We love mankind, we want to do great things, but sometimes people are the ones that are hard to love. The very first commandment, the greatest commandment, is to love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind. And second is to love your neighbor as yourself. And the first 3 commandments that God gives to Moses to tell the children of Israel, they're centered around loving God. The 5 through 10 are centered around loving people, right? Sandwiched right in between that is commandment number 4. Shall keep the Sabbath day and make it holy. Rest.
Even though in Matthew 22:37, he was talking about love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. The Lord had already said that in
Deuteronomy.
where
So sandwiched in between commandments versus loving God and loving people, we have commandment number 4 about the Sabbath day. Maybe it's purposeful. I don't know, but I would argue, and point number 1 is we need to, and being rested and focusing on periods of reflection help and cause us to love more. I think you could argue that it's easier to love when we're rested. Isn't it easier to love people or to pay attention to people or have time for people when you're well rested and you're more sober-minded, clear thinking, better judgment?
Especially if during that rest you're focused on God.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like we don't really fast anymore, but what is fasting? What should fasting be about if we are to do it? It's not about us. It's not about our hunger or our lack. It's about focusing on God. When I get hungry, when I have the desire to pick my phone up or turn the TV on, I should be reminded of God. I should reflect on what God has given me and that God can alone sustain me. So I feel like it's easier to love when we're rested, right? So being rested, spending time honoring the Sabbath or focusing on what God has done for us helps us to love more, but it also helps us to look more. Okay, so I jumped ahead to this point, so I wanted to make it about Genesis 1 and then Genesis 2. Rest allows reflection. I sent something to the elders, not because they needed to hear it, but I just thought it was worthy of sharing a few weeks ago. I've sent this to a couple people here recently. Again, not because they're bad people or whatever, but a rested mind breeds positivity, I would argue. A tired mind can possibly breed negativity. Repetitive complaining will attract things for you to complain about. Repeated gratitude will attract things for you to be thankful about. That's an unknown author there. But if we have rested minds, then I think we're going to look more to God, reflect more on what God's done for us, reflect more on the cross of Christ and how I have salvation only through Christ. And the more that I spend being still and knowing who God is and what God has done for me, then I'm going to maybe have more of a smile on my face. My mindset is going to be shifted to more of a positive thinking mindset than a negative thinking or a complaining type mindset. Repetitive complaining will attract things for you to complain about. Repeated gratitude will attract things for you to be thankful about. I dislike negative people, right? I dislike negativity. I do not like to sit in a group of people and hear constant negativity. It drives me crazy, right? Because at the end of the day, we just had VBS on serving a God who was able to part the Red Sea for the Israelites, for them to walk across dry ground, okay? Serving a God that had a desire for the Ninevites to repent from their sins. Serving a God who was able to, when asked, calm a storm. And serve a God that's able to walk on the water and to heal us from every fear that we have. At the end of the day, we have nothing to complain about. A rested mind helps us to look more, reflect more on what God has given us. Rest, defined as a cease work or movement in order to relax, refresh oneself, or recover strength. Man was created on the 6th day. The 7th day was rest, a reflection on what God had done for him days 1 through 6. We are free as people. Galatians 6:1 tells us that, but we don't always act like it. Pointing the finger at me, we work trying to fill our schedule with something else. It's always more. Instead of taking time to fully comprehend all God has done and is doing for us and how God is working for us, sometimes, what's the saying? You miss the forest for the trees. Can somebody explain that to me?
We're so busy focused on
sometimes I'm so focused, and this is where I'm getting to about my day, my schedule, my life sometimes I become so focused on the next thing, so focused on what I have going on, so focused on minute details that I completely miss the entire picture. Sometimes you get the idea, like if you stand way too close to the forest, you only see a couple of trees in your field of vision. But then you step back. I was at Dick's Sporting Goods. Have y'all been to the new renovated Dick's Sporting Goods yet? Oh my word, people, go. It's awesome. Like, it is super nice. They're still like in phase 2. It's going to be a phase 3. It's going to be a rock climbing wall. Like, I'm thinking, let's go. Next women's breakfast, we're going to the rock climbing wall, okay? We're not going to Golden Corral. I'm just kidding. I was in there the other day, okay? And I was so mad at this guy. I was like, I want to be like, you're a jerk. But I didn't. I just said it in my head. I was standing in the middle. You guys, obviously, nobody's been, so you don't know. But in the new side, you walk in the doors, you pass the registers, go to the left side. It opens up. There's baseball bats. There's a cage you can swing in. There's golf clubs. I mean, they're selling full sets of golf clubs. It's putting green, everything. Clothes. I had a couple of pairs of clothes. I was like, man, I probably know these fit, but I'm going to go try them on anyways. And I asked a guy. I'm standing. It's brand new. And I said, hey, is there a changing room around? They've got plastic up because they're working here, one cash register over here, but you can't check out up front. You got to check out in the back. Like, it's all messed up right now. And the guy was like, it's right there. It actually says changing room or dresser or whatever. And I'm like, he said it so arrogantly to me too, like, you moron, it's right there. It says it. But where I was standing, I couldn't see dressing room or whatever they say up there. I stepped back 3 steps. I was like, oh, yeah, man, I'm sorry. I was so close to it, I didn't even see it. All right, it was around the corner. I felt like an idiot. He made me feel like an idiot. And that's the idea of sometimes we're so focused on maybe what's around us that we don't see the forest. We don't see the greater picture. You're so focused, and I'm so focused on me, that I forget to rest and reflect on all that God has done. And really, what is the greater mission of what is my job? Is to go and to make disciples of all nations, to baptize in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. To teach people the things that Jesus has taught me. Right? That was the disciples' mission. That's our commission, to go. Sometimes we can miss the greater context of what our job is because we're so solely focused on what we have to do as humans. Exodus chapter 16, 21 through 30. We got 5 minutes. No, we don't. That was the second bell. Never heard the first. It's all right. We'll read it. We'll be done. Is that all right? Well, how about this? You read it on your own time, and I'll tell you what it says. Here's an opportunity where God calls out to Moses, and Moses tells all the people, hey, listen, for 6 days you're going to work, you're going to collect all the food you need, but on the 6th day you're going to do it doubly. So that way you have leftover for the 7th day. Don't go out collecting. Don't go out gathering food. It's going to be fine to stay the day over, but after 2 days, it's done. The next day, the first day of the next week, go out and collect food. There were still Israelites that were trying to go out and collect food on the Sabbath when they had been commanded not to. Here's the thing, is that even though we are commanded to rest and to chill and to be still and know that who God is and what God has done, we still are striving to find something else to do, to fill that void, whatever void we may have in our time schedule. They were more focused on gaining and getting versus reflecting on what they had. Isaiah chapter 58, we will close with this. 58 verses 13 through 14, if anybody would read that for us, please. Isaiah 58, 13 through 14.
If you turn away your foot from the Sabbath, from doing your pleasure on my holy day, and call the Sabbath a delight, a holy day to the Lord honorable, and shall honor him, not doing your own ways, nor finding your own pleasure, nor speaking your own words, then you shall delight yourself in the Lord. And I will cause you to ride on the hills of the earth, and feed you with the heritage of Jacob your father. From Mount
I love you, Lord, for your mercy never fails me. All my days I've been held in your hands. From the moment that I wake up until I lay my head, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. Because all my life you have been faithful, and all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I'm able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. I hope that through all of my rambling, that we understand that the Sabbath may not be something that we are commanded to keep and to keep it holy, but it's something that you and I need to do maybe on a daily basis. It's to rest and reflect and take time out of our own busy schedules and remember every great thing that God has done for us, to reflect on the goodness of God. Thank you, and hope you have a great week, rest of your week.